Emperor Zixmuth felt his flagship shudder as human weapons tore through the hull plating. His bridge crew struggled with control systems that crashed every few seconds due to the chaotic human signals flooding their networks. In 1,000 years of rule, he had never experienced anything like this battle. Your Majesty, we have lost contact with 60% of our fleet. The remaining ships are firing randomly due to system malfunctions, his communications officer reported while frantically trying to restore network connections. Admiral Ryan Bell led the human assault fleet toward the crippled Imperial flagship. His ship Aurora had been rebuilt 3 times during the war and now carried weapons that combined human ingenuity with captured alien technology. Around him, hundreds of human vessels swarmed through the confused alien fleet like angry bees. All ships focus fire on the Emperor's flagship. If we can capture their leader, we might be able to end this war, Ryan commanded over the radio. Captain Maria Santos piloted her destroyer through the maze of disabled alien ships while her tactical officer painted targets for the rest of the human fleet. Her brother, Lieutenant Carlos Santos, coordinated rescue operations for human crews whose ships had been damaged in the chaotic battle. Maria, we have civilian transports trapped behind that alien cruiser. Can you clear a path? Carlos asked over the communication channel. On my way, little brother. Tell those transports to follow my ship and try not to crash into anything. Maria replied as she accelerated toward the alien vessel. The alien cruiser tried to target Maria's ship, but its weapon systems kept locking onto empty space due to the chaos generator's interference. Maria flew directly underneath the massive vessel and fired nuclear missiles at its engine section. The explosions disabled the alien ship and opened an escape route for the trapped civilians. Engineer Kate Phillips watched from her technical station as the computer virus she had created spread through the alien fleet's communication network. Every ship that tried to coordinate with other vessels became infected with patterns of human creativity that crashed their systems within minutes. Admiral, the virus has reached the Emperor's flagship. Their main computer is trying to process a file containing every human joke ever recorded. The system cannot handle that much illogical content, Kate reported with a grin. Young Bobby Chun continued broadcasting signals based on human art and music directly at the alien fleet. His improvised equipment was damaging alien computers faster than they could be repaired. The 18-year-old communications officer had become one of the most effective weapons in the human arsenal. Bobby, can you target the Emperor's personal communication system? If we can reach him directly, maybe we can convince him to surrender, Admiral Bell asked. Already working on it, sir. I'm broadcasting a signal based on human children's laughter, directly at his throne room. No computer in the galaxy can process that much pure joy without crashing, Bobby replied. On the Imperial flagship, Emperor Zixmuth stumbled as another explosion rocked his ship. The human assault teams had somehow penetrated his vessel's defenses and were fighting their way toward the bridge. His elite guard units could not stop the chaotic human tactics that seemed to break every rule of combat. Sergeant Tony Rivera's replacement Corporal Lisa Wright led a Marine boarding party through the alien ship's corridors using tactics that made no sense to the defenders. When aliens expected the humans to advance, they retreated. When aliens expected them to retreat, they attacked from 6 different directions at once. Emperor, the human boarding parties have captured the engine room and are moving toward the bridge. Our security forces cannot predict their movements because they do not follow any recognizable patterns. War Master Thekalan reported. The Emperor looked at the tactical display showing his fleet's complete collapse. Ships that had conquered 1,000 worlds were being defeated by primitive human vessels using weapons that should not have worked. More importantly, the chaotic human signals were making it impossible for his forces to coordinate any kind of effective response. Your Majesty, we are receiving a direct communication from the human admiral. He wishes to speak with you personally, the communications officer announced. Emperor Zixmuth had never spoken directly with a primitive species leader before. In his experience, conquered peoples usually begged for mercy or offered unconditional surrender. But everything about humans had been different from the beginning. Put him through, the Emperor commanded. Admiral Bell's image appeared on the main screen of the Imperial Bridge. The human leader looked tired but determined, with the confident expression of someone who had just achieved the impossible. Emperor Zixmuth, I am Admiral Ryan Bell of the Earth Defense Forces. Your fleet is defeated and your flagship is surrounded. I offer you the chance to surrender with honor. The words struck the Emperor like physical blows. No one had ever offered him the chance to surrender. He was the one who dictated terms to defeated enemies. Yet here was a primitive human treating him as an equal in defeat. Human Admiral, you cannot possibly believe that your primitive weapons can threaten the full might of the Zephyrian Empire. I command 10,000 worlds and 1,000,000 warships. That may be true, Your Majesty, but those 1,000,000 warships all use the same logical computer systems that we have learned to defeat. Your empire conquered other species by being predictable and overwhelming. But humans are neither predictable nor easily overwhelmed. Emperor Zixmuth considered his options. The human fleet had somehow defeated his most powerful battle force, using creativity and chaos instead of superior firepower. More troubling news of this defeat would spread throughout his empire and inspire rebellion on 1,000 worlds. What do you propose, Admiral Bell? A treaty between Earth and the Zephyrian Empire. Humans will remain independent and free. In exchange, we will share our understanding of chaotic tactics with species throughout the galaxy who wish to resist oppression. The threat was clear but diplomatically stated. If the Emperor continued fighting, humans would teach their unpredictable methods to every rebellious species in the galaxy. The Zephyrian Empire would face countless enemies who could no longer be defeated through logical military doctrine. And if I refuse your offer? Admiral Bell smiled with the quiet confidence of someone who had already won. Then we will continue fighting until every human is dead or every alien ship is destroyed. We have proven that we cannot be conquered by force, and we will never stop teaching others how to be free. Emperor Zixmuth realized that he faced something more dangerous than military defeat. The humans had demonstrated that the Zephyrian Empire was not invincible. Their chaotic resistance had exposed weaknesses in the imperial system that could never be repaired. I accept your terms. Admiral Bell, Earth will be granted independence in exchange for your promise not to spread your chaotic methods to other species. I am sorry, Your Majesty, but we cannot agree to that condition. Freedom is not something that should be kept secret. Any species that wishes to learn human methods of resistance will be welcome to study with us. The Emperor understood that his empire would never be the same. Humans had not only won their freedom, but had also created a new model for resistance that would inspire rebellions throughout the galaxy. The age of easy conquest was over. Very well, Admiral. Earth is free and the Zephyrian Empire will withdraw from this system. But know that you have changed the galaxy forever. Admiral Bell nodded respectfully. That was always our intention, Your Majesty. Freedom should never be the privilege of the strong alone. As the alien fleet retreated from Earth's solar system, humans around the world celebrated the impossible. Victory? They had faced the strongest empire in the galaxy and won through determination, creativity, and the simple refusal to accept defeat. Dr. Lisa Grant watched the alien ships disappear into faster-than-light travel and felt proud of the discovery that had started everything. Her detection of the first alien signals had led to humanity's greatest challenge and greatest triumph. The galaxy would never be the same. Humans had proven that no empire, no matter how powerful, could conquer a species that refused to be conquered. Freedom was contagious, and it was spreading among the stars. Emperor Zixmuth stood in the throne room of his imperial palace and studied the reports from Earth with growing alarm. In 1,000 years of rule, no species had ever required the attention of 3 separate battle fleets. The humans were weak and primitive, yet they continued to resist with tactics that defied all military logic. War Master Thecalon presented the latest intelligence reports with obvious concern in his voice. Your Imperial Majesty, we have disturbing news from several client worlds. The Altarian mining colonies have begun work slowdowns. The Nexus trading posts are reporting supply disruptions. Most troubling, the Corvin battle fleets are requesting permission to withdraw from frontier duties. The Emperor's four eyes focused on his military advisor with intense displeasure. Are you telling me that news of human resistance is inspiring rebellion throughout my empire? Yes, Your Majesty. The subject species are asking why they serve the Empire if primitive humans can successfully fight our fleets. They are beginning to question whether Zephyrian rule is truly inevitable. Emperor Zixmuth had built his empire by convincing every species that resistance was hopeless. The Zephyrian military machine was presented as an unstoppable force that could crush any rebellion before it began. But humans were proving that even primitive weapons could damage Zephyrian ships if used in unpredictable ways. Prepare the First Imperial Fleet for immediate departure to Earth. I will personally oversee the destruction of this troublesome species. On Earth, President Helen Carter addressed the United Nations for what everyone knew would be the final time. The alien emperor himself was coming with a fleet large enough to sterilize the entire planet. Satellite telescopes had detected over 1,000 alien warships approaching the solar system. My fellow humans, we face our greatest challenge yet. The alien emperor brings overwhelming force against us, but we have something they do not understand. We have the spirit to fight for our freedom no matter how impossible the odds appear. Admiral Ryan Bell stood in the command center of humanity's new orbital fortress. The station had been built in just 2 weeks using alien technology captured during the previous battles. His wife, Dr. Rachel Bell, had designed defensive systems that combined human creativity with alien power sources. Ryan, the new weapon is ready for testing, Rachel said as she showed him the device her team had created. We call it the Chaos Generator. It broadcasts random electromagnetic patterns that overload alien computer systems. The weapon was based on the discovery that alien technology could not process truly random inputs. Dr. Pete Morrison, the brilliant but unconventional scientist who had designed it, explained how it worked. The device generates patterns based on human brainwaves, music, art, and literature. It creates signals that are so creative and chaotic that alien computers crash when they try to analyze them. Lieutenant Sarah Bell prepared her fighter squadron for what would likely be their final mission. The human fleet now included 300 combat vessels and over 1,000 civilian ships that had been armed with whatever weapons could be found. Every person on Earth who could fly had volunteered to fight. Pilots, this is it. The alien Emperor wants to end our resistance once and for all. We are going to show him why humans never give up, Sarah announced over the radio commander. Nick Taylor led a squadron of converted passenger jets that had been fitted with missile launchers. Captain Julia Green commanded a group of cargo ships carrying nuclear weapons. Major Alex Thompson piloted a hospital ship that had been turned into a mobile repair station for damaged human vessels. The First Imperial Fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. Emperor Zixmuth stood on the bridge of his flagship, a massive vessel 10 miles long that carried enough firepower to crack planets. He had never personally commanded a battle before because no species had ever required his direct attention. Your Majesty, we detect approximately 1,000 human vessels in Earth orbit. They appear to be in random formations with no clear defensive strategy. His tactical officer reported. The Emperor studied the display showing human ship positions. The vessels were scattered throughout the solar system in patterns that made no tactical sense. Some ships flew in circles around Earth while others hid behind asteroids or hung motionless in space. Begin the attack. Destroy every human ship and then sterilize the planet's surface. I want this species completely eliminated. The alien fleet advanced toward Earth with mathematical precision. Every ship knew exactly where to go and what to do. The attack plan had been calculated by the most advanced computers in the galaxy and could not fail, but as soon as the aliens entered weapons range, Dr. Rachel Bell activated the Chaos Generator. The device broadcast patterns based on human jazz, music, abstract art, poetry, and the recorded brainwaves of children playing games. The signals were transmitted directly at the alien fleet's communication and targeting systems. The results were immediate and devastating. Alien computers that had functioned perfectly for centuries began crashing as they tried to process the chaotic human signals. Navigation systems failed, weapons targeting became erratic, and communication between ships broke down completely. What is happening to our systems? Emperor Zixmuth demanded as his flagship's lights flickered and computers reset themselves repeatedly. Unknown, Your Majesty. Our computers are receiving some kind of signal that causes system failures. Every time we try to analyze it, our processors overload and shut down. This was exactly what the humans had been waiting for. Admiral Bell gave the signal for Operation Wildcard, the most chaotic battle plan ever conceived. Every human ship attacked different targets using whatever tactics seemed most insane at the moment. Captain Maria Santos led her destroyer in a spiraling attack run while playing classical music over the radio. Her brother Lieutenant Carlos Santos coordinated civilian evacuation ships that doubled as decoy targets to confuse alien sensors. Engineer Kate Phillips had programmed a computer virus based on human creativity patterns and transmitted it directly into alien networks. The virus spread through the Imperial fleet like wildfire. Alien computers crashed one after another as they tried to process human artistic and creative content. Ships began firing at their own allies when their targeting systems misidentified friendly vessels as enemies. Young communications officer Bobby Chun, barely 18 years old, improvised a solution to breach the Emperor's flagship shields using spare parts from a damaged satellite. His makeshift device generated a signal pattern based on human laughter that completely overloaded the alien defensive systems. Admiral Bell, the flagship shields are down. We have a clear shot at the Emperor's ship, Bobby reported excitedly. Admiral Bell led the final assault on the Imperial flagship while chaos consumed the alien fleet around them. Human ships that should have been destroyed hours ago continued fighting using determination and creativity that no computer could calculate or counter. Emperor Zixmuth watched his mighty fleet fall apart around him and realized something that terrified him more than defeat. The humans had not won through superior technology or numbers. They had won by being completely unpredictable and refusing to accept that they could lose. For the first time in his 1,000-year reign, the Emperor of the strongest empire in the galaxy was forced to consider the possibility of surrender. Admiral Kexanoth received the emergency transmission from Commander Vextaler while his 5th Battle Fleet was still 3 days away from Earth. The message made no sense to him. A primitive species was somehow resisting the 3rd Expeditionary Fleet using tactics that violated every principle of warfare. Navigation Officer, increase speed to maximum. I want to reach Earth in 2 days instead of 3. Admiral Kexanoth ordered. The Admiral had served the Zephyrian Empire for 400 years and commanded fleets that cracked planets like eggs. His 5th Battle Fleet contained 200 warships, each one capable of destroying entire continents. No species had ever required this level of force to achieve surrender. He reviewed Vextaler's combat reports and felt growing concern. The humans possessed no technology that should threaten Zephyrian ships, yet they had managed to damage several vessels and capture alien equipment. More troubling was their complete disregard for military logic. Communications, send a message to Emperor Zixmuth. Inform him that Earth may require additional resources to conquer. On Earth, Captain Ryan Bell had been promoted to Admiral after his successful defense of the lunar colonies. The promotion felt strange because most of his original fleet had been destroyed, but somehow humanity was calling it a victory. His wife, Dr. Rachel Bell, now led the civilian research division that was studying captured alien technology. Ryan, we have made incredible progress understanding their systems, Rachel said as she showed him the latest research results. Their computers are so advanced that they can calculate the movement of entire galaxies, but they cannot handle random human behavior. Admiral Bell looked at the hybrid fighters that human engineers had built using alien components. The new ships were faster and stronger than anything humans had created before, but they still relied on human pilots making unpredictable decisions. How many ships do we have ready for the next battle? He asked 57 combat vessels, and about 200 civilian ships that we have armed with whatever weapons we could find, Rachel replied. It is not much against an entire alien battle fleet. Their daughter, Lieutenant Sarah Bell, walked into the command center wearing a pilot's uniform. She had volunteered to fly one of the new hybrid fighters despite her parents' concerns. Dad, the pilots are ready. We have been practicing random flight patterns and chaotic attack formations. If the aliens think we are crazy now, wait until they see what we do next. Admiral Kexanoth arrived at Earth to find a human fleet waiting. In the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, the human ships were hidden among the rocks and mining equipment, using the asteroids as both cover and weapons. This was another tactic that made no logical sense. Sir, the humans have positioned themselves in a debris field. Our large ships cannot maneuver effectively in that environment, his tactical officer reported. Then we will destroy the asteroids, along with the human ships. Target everything in that region and fire. The alien fleet began bombarding the asteroid belt with enough firepower to vaporize small moons. Rocks exploded into dust and human ships scattered in all directions. But instead of retreating, the humans did something completely unexpected. Sergeant Tony Rivera was piloting a converted mining vessel that had been turned into a bomber. When the alien bombardment began, he flew directly into the explosion clouds where alien sensors could not track him. His ship was filled with nuclear warheads taken from old military missiles. This is Sergeant Rivera to all human forces. I am beginning my attack run on the alien flagship. Tell my wife I love her. Tony flew his mining ship through the debris field using paths that only a person who had worked in asteroid mines could navigate. The alien computers tried to track him but kept losing his signal among the exploding rocks and metal fragments. Lieutenant Sarah Bell led her fighter squadron in a desperate attack to cover Tony's approach. The hybrid fighters moved like angry insects, darting between alien ships and firing at anything that looked important. The alien weapons tried to target them, but the fighters changed direction too quickly and randomly. Sarah, to all fighters, remember what Dad taught us? If they expect us to go left, go right. If they expect us to attack, retreat. If they expect us to retreat, attack. The alien flagship was the largest warship Sarah had ever seen. It was 3 miles long and covered with weapons that could destroy cities. But Tony's mining ship was small and fast enough to slip through the defensive fire if he flew like a maniac. Corporal Michelle Santos watched from her assault ship as Tony approached the alien flagship. She led a unit of Marines who specialized in boarding enemy vessels and capturing technology. If Tony could damage the flagship enough, her team might be able to get inside. Marines, check your equipment. If that mining ship opens a hole in their hull, we are going in. Tony's ship reached the alien flagship, and he fired every weapon he had at the same spot on the hull. Nuclear warheads exploded against alien armor, and finally cracked through to the interior. Tony's ship was destroyed in the explosion, but he had created the opening that Michelle needed. Go, go, go! Michelle shouted as her assault ship flew into the breach that Tony had made. Her Marines fought their way through alien corridors, using weapons and tactics that confused the enemy defenders. When aliens expected coordinated military assault, the Marines split up and attacked from 6 different directions. When aliens tried to surround them, the Marines used explosives to blow new passages through the walls. Admiral Kexanoth felt his flagship shake as human Marines rampaged through the interior sections. His security forces were having trouble stopping the intruders because the humans did not follow standard boarding procedures. They moved through his ship like wild animals instead of disciplined soldiers. Sir, the human boarding party has reached the main computer core. They are accessing our navigation database. This was a disaster. If humans gained access to Zephyrian star charts and fleet positions, they could threaten other worlds in the Empire. Kexanoth had never imagined that primitive creatures could penetrate the flagship of a Zephyrian admiral. Activate the self-destruct sequence for the computer core. We cannot let them steal our navigation data. But Corporal Michelle Santos and Her Marines had already downloaded the alien star charts to portable storage devices. They fought their way back to their assault ship while the alien computer systems began exploding around them. The information they captured would change everything. For the first time, humans knew where the alien empire came from and how big it really was. More importantly, they learned that other species in the galaxy were also fighting for freedom against Zephyrian rule. Admiral Kexanoth retreated with the remains of his fleet, but the damage was already done. News of human resistance was spreading throughout the galaxy, and the mighty Zephyrian Empire was starting to look vulnerable for the first time in 1,000 years. Commander Vextaylor pulled his fleet back to a safe distance from Earth while his science officer studied the human combat recordings. The battle had lasted exactly 4.7 minutes as predicted, but the results were all wrong. The humans had fought in ways that made no tactical sense. Science Officer Kethmaya watched the battle videos for the 20th time. She had analyzed combat data from thousands of conquered species but never saw anything like human behavior. When their ships were damaged, humans flew toward enemies instead of away from them. When communication was cut, they continued fighting. Without orders, when facing certain death, they smiled. "Commander, I have completed my analysis of human combat behavior," Kethmaya reported. "These creatures do not follow any known patterns of military logic." Vextaylor looked at the data on his screen. The computer had tried to predict human actions during the battle and failed every time. Humans had made decisions that sacrificed tactical advantage to save their fellow crew members. They had continued attacking even when their weapons could not penetrate alien defenses. "Explain this behavior, Science Officer. Why do they fight when they cannot win?" Kethmaya showed video of Lieutenant Greg Collins ramming his fighter into the alien destroyer. This human gave his life to create an escape route for other ships. The tactical gain was minimal, but he did it anyway. Our computers cannot understand why. On Earth, Dr. Lisa Grant worked with a team of scientists to analyze wreckage from the space battle. Pieces of alien technology had fallen to Earth when Lieutenant Collins destroyed the enemy ship. Engineer Paul Tucker and physicist Dana Clark brought the strange metal fragments to her laboratory. "Lisa, look at this," Paul said as he pointed to a piece of alien circuitry. "Their technology is incredibly advanced, but it follows very rigid patterns. Every component does exactly what it is designed to do and nothing else." Dana examined the alien computer chips under a powerful microscope. "The processing power is amazing, but the programming is completely logical. There is no room for random variables or creative solutions." Lisa studied the data and realized something important. "Paul, Dana, I think we found their weakness. Their computers are so logical that they cannot handle illogical inputs. Human creativity might actually confuse their systems." She called General Hayes immediately with the discovery. The general listened carefully as Lisa explained how alien technology worked. "So you are saying their advanced computers cannot handle human unpredictability?" General Hayes asked. "Exactly. Their systems are designed to process logical combat scenarios. But humans do not always act logically in battle. We make emotional decisions that their computers cannot predict or counter." General Hayes smiled for the first time since the crisis began. "Dr. Grant, you may have just given us a way to fight back?" The general called Colonel Ben Harper to her office and explained the new strategy. Instead of traditional military formations, human forces would operate in small independent units using guerrilla tactics. Each team would include both military personnel and civilians whose unconventional thinking might overwhelm alien battle. "Computers. Colonel, I want you to create teams that no computer could predict. Mix soldiers with teachers, engineers with artists, pilots with mechanics. Give them simple objectives, but let them choose their own methods." Colonel Harper understood. Immediately. "You want us to be as chaotic and unpredictable as possible." "Exactly. If their computers cannot understand us, maybe we can level the playing field." Captain Ryan Bell had survived the first battle, but his ship Aurora was badly damaged. Engineer Sophie Martinez worked day and night to repair the hull breaches and restore life support systems. They had limped back to Earth's moon where other surviving human ships were regrouping. "Captain, I have an idea about our next attack," said Tactical Officer Kevin Wright. "What if we do not attack at all? What if we just fly around randomly and make them guess what we are planning?" Amy Foster looked up from her communications station. "That might actually work. If Dr. Grant is right about their computers needing logical input, random movement might crash their targeting systems." Ryan thought about this strange new way of fighting. Everything he had learned in military school said armies needed clear objectives and coordinated attacks. But maybe fighting aliens required completely different thinking. "Sophie, can you make our engines fire in random patterns? I want our flight path to be impossible to predict." Sophie grinned as she worked on the engine controls. "Captain, I can make this ship dance like a drunk butterfly if you want." Back on his flagship, Commander Vextaler received reports that more human ships were launching from Earth. His computers calculated that the new human fleet had even less firepower than the first one. Victory should be even easier this time. "Sir, the human ships are moving toward us, but they are not following any formation pattern," his tactical officer reported. Vextaler looked at the display screen showing human ship movements. The spacecraft seemed to be flying in circles, loops, and zigzag patterns that served no military purpose. His targeting computers kept trying to predict where the ships would go next, but every prediction was wrong. "What are they doing?" Vextaler asked. "Unknown, sir. Our computers cannot determine their battle plan because they do not appear to have one." One human ship suddenly accelerated directly at the alien fleet, then curved away at the last second and flew backward while spinning. Another ship stopped moving completely for 30 seconds, then burst forward at maximum speed in a completely different direction. The alien targeting systems tried to lock onto human ships, but kept losing target acquisition when the humans changed direction without warning. Weapons that should have destroyed the human fleet instead fired at empty space, where the ships had been moments before. Commander Vextaler felt something he had not experienced in 3 centuries of warfare: confusion. The humans were not fighting better than his fleet. They were fighting differently in ways that broke all the rules of space combat. "Sir, should we modify our tactics to compensate for human unpredictability?" Vextaler considered this option but realized it was impossible. The Zephyrian Empire had conquered 10,000 worlds using precise mathematical calculations and logical strategy. Their entire military system was based on predictable patterns and proven tactics. Continue the attack. Use overwhelming firepower to compensate for targeting difficulties. But even with overwhelming firepower, hitting targets that moved randomly was harder than hitting targets that moved logically. The human ships were still weaker than alien vessels, but now they were also harder to destroy. For the first time in Zephyrian history, a primitive species was making the mighty empire look foolish in battle. Commander Vextaler stood on the bridge of his massive warship and looked at the small blue planet below. Earth appeared peaceful and harmless from this distance. His ship alone could destroy every city on the planet in less than 1 hour. The Third Expeditionary Fleet behind him carried enough firepower to crack the planet in half. "Commander, the humans have not responded to our surrender demand," reported his communications officer. "They have sent no reply messages." Vextaler was not surprised. Most primitive species took time to accept their fate. In his 300 years of service to the Zephyrian Empire, he had conquered 47 worlds. The pattern was always the same. First came denial, then panic, then acceptance, and finally surrender. "Sir, we are detecting unusual activity on the planet's surface," said his scanner operator. "The humans appear to be moving military equipment to defensive positions." This was strange. Vextaler had expected the humans to send desperate peace messages or unconditional surrender by now. Instead, they seemed to be preparing for war. He decided to give them a demonstration of Zephyrian power. "Target their largest city, fire 1 plasma cannon shot into empty ground nearby. Show them what we can do." The blue beam shot down from space and hit a desert area 50 miles from New York City. The explosion created a crater 3 miles wide and turned sand into glass. Surely this would make the humans understand their situation. On Earth, General Patricia Hayes watched the alien demonstration from her command center deep under Colorado. She had been put in charge of all human military forces when the world leaders finally agreed to fight instead of surrender. Patricia had spent 30 years in the army and never faced an enemy like this before. General, the blast was equivalent to a nuclear weapon but with no radiation, reported Colonel Ben Harper. Their ships can destroy our cities from orbit without even landing. Patricia nodded and looked at the map showing human forces around the world. Every nation had contributed everything they had. Russian submarines, Chinese missiles, American fighters, European tanks, African soldiers, Australian ships, and forces from every other country now served under one command. Colonel, what is the status of Operation Unity? All forces are in position, General. Captain Ryan Bell is ready to launch with the Aurora and our other spacecraft. It is not much, but it is everything we have. Captain Ryan Bell floated in zero gravity aboard the Aurora, humanity's first real warship built for fighting in space. The ship was made from parts of the International Space Station, military satellites and new technology built in just 5 days. Ryan knew the Aurora was primitive compared to alien ships, but it was better than nothing. His crew included engineer Sophie Martinez, who had worked on NASA rockets for 10 years. Tactical officer Kevin Wright came from the Navy and knew how to fight even if he had never fought aliens before. Communications specialist Amy Foster had learned to speak with people all over Earth during the crisis. Captain, we have orders from General Hayes, Amy said. We are to engage the alien fleet and buy time for the planetary defenses. Ryan looked at his crew. They all knew this mission would probably kill them. The Aurora was one of only 12 human spacecraft capable of fighting in space. The aliens had hundreds of ships that were each stronger than all human forces combined. Everyone ready? Ryan asked. Ready, Captain, his crew replied together. Sophie Martinez checked the Aurora's weapons one more time. They had nuclear missiles, laser cannons taken from military satellites, and kinetic projectiles that could punch holes in metal. Against alien shields and armor, these weapons seemed like throwing rocks at a tank. The Aurora launched from Earth's orbit along with 11 other human ships. They flew toward the alien fleet in a formation that Kevin Wright had designed. The plan was simple. Get close, hit hard, and try to survive long enough to learn something about alien technology. Commander Vex Taylor watched the primitive human ships approach his fleet. His tactical computer calculated that the engagement would last 4.7 minutes. The humans had nuclear weapons, but no shields, no faster-than-light drives, and no energy weapons stronger than simple lasers. All ships prepare to destroy the human fleet. Use minimum power settings. We want to capture some prisoners for questioning. Vex Taylor ordered. The first alien ship fired at the Aurora with what should have been a disabling shot. The blue energy beam hit the Aurora's hull and tore through the armor plating. Sophie Martinez screamed as explosions rocked the ship. Hull breach in Section 3. Life support failing. We have maybe 10 minutes of air left, Sophie reported. Ryan made a decision that surprised even himself. Instead of retreating, he ordered the Aurora to fly straight at the alien ship that had shot them. This was not a tactical move any computer could predict because it made no logical sense. Captain, what are you doing? Kevin asked. If we are going to die, we are taking one of them with us, Ryan replied. The Aurora accelerated toward the alien vessel while firing everything it had. Nuclear missiles exploded against alien shields. Laser cannons carved thin lines across alien armor. Kinetic projectiles bounced off like tiny rocks, but something unexpected happened. Lieutenant Greg Collins, piloting a small fighter craft, saw the Aurora's desperate attack and made his own impossible decision. He flew his fighter straight into the alien ship's weapon systems and detonated his remaining missiles in a suicide attack. The explosion damaged the alien ship's main gun and created a gap in their defensive formation. 3 other human ships escaped through this gap while the aliens tried to understand. What had just happened? Commander Vex Taylor stared at his tactical display in confusion. The humans had lost 5 ships and gained nothing tactical from the exchange, yet they seemed to consider this a victory because a few ships had escaped. Their behavior made no sense according to any military doctrine in the Zephyrian database. Sir, the remaining human ships are regrouping near their moon. They are sending a message, his communications officer reported. What does it say? It says, "Come and get us, sir." Vex Taylor had conquered worlds filled with warriors, scholars, and machines. But he had never faced a species that seemed to enjoy fighting against impossible odds. The humans were weak and primitive, but they refused to accept defeat even when defeat was obvious. For the first time in 300 years, Commander Vex Taylor felt uncertain about the outcome of a battle. Dr. Lisa Grant stared at the computer screen in the Arecibo Observatory and felt her hands shake. The radio signals coming from deep space were not random noise like she first thought. They formed patterns that looked like math problems and star maps. She had been studying space signals for 15 years but never saw anything like this before. Jake Murphy walked over to her desk with a cup of coffee in his hand. He was her best friend at the observatory and always helped her check her work. Jake looked at the screen and dropped his coffee cup on the floor. The hot liquid spread across the white tiles, but neither of them noticed. "Lisa, this is not from Earth," Jake said in a quiet voice. "These signals are coming from outside our solar system and they are trying to talk to us." Lisa saved all the data on 3 different computers. She knew this was the most important discovery in human history. First contact with aliens was really happening, and she was the person who found it. Her heart beat so fast she thought it might stop. The signals kept coming for 6 hours. Lisa and Jake worked together to decode the mathematical patterns. The messages showed pictures of star systems and galaxies. They showed numbers that represented distances across space that humans could barely imagine. The final message was different from the others. It was a countdown, 7 days until something would happen. The message was clear even though it came from creatures they had never seen. Earth had 7 days to do something or face terrible consequences. The word surrender appeared in the decoded text along with images of destroyed planets. Lisa picked up the red phone that connected directly to the Pentagon. She had never used it before and hoped she would never have to. Major Chris Boyd answered on the first ring. "This is Major Boyd. What is your emergency?" "Major, this is Dr. Lisa Grant at Arecibo. We have received confirmed alien communication. They are demanding our surrender in 7 days or they will attack Earth." The line went quiet for 10 seconds. Lisa could hear Major Boyd breathing on the other end. "Dr. Grant, are you certain about this? Are you absolutely sure these signals are from extraterrestrial sources?" "Yes, sir. Dr. Murphy and I have confirmed it. The mathematical proofs are beyond anything humans could create. They know things about our galaxy that we are still learning. Do not leave the observatory. Do not talk to anyone about this. A team is coming to you right now." 3 hours later, black cars surrounded the observatory. Men in suits took all of Lisa's research and put it in metal cases. Major Boyd was tall with gray hair and serious eyes. He looked at the data for 1 hour before making a phone call. "Madam President, we have a code black situation. Confirmed alien contact with hostile intent." President Helen Carter arrived at the White House Situation Room where world leaders waited on video screens. Prime ministers, presidents, and kings from every nation on Earth looked scared and confused. Admiral Scott Davis stood next to a large screen showing Earth's military forces. "Ladies and gentlemen, we face the greatest threat in human history," President Carter said. "An alien empire has contacted us and demanded our surrender. We have 6 days left to respond." The president of China spoke first. "What do we know about these aliens? How powerful are they?" Admiral Davis stepped forward. "Based on the transmission data, they have technology far beyond ours. They can travel faster than light and have detailed maps of our galaxy. Our most advanced ships can barely reach Mars while they appear to control vast regions of space." The Prime Minister of England asked, "What are our options?" "We have 3 choices," Admiral Davis said. First, we surrender and hope they treat the U.S. well. Second, we fight with everything we have, even though we will probably lose. Third, we try to negotiate and buy more time. President Carter looked at each leader on the screens. I need to know what each nation will do. This decision affects every person on Earth. One by one, the world leaders gave their answers. Most wanted to surrender and save their people. A few wanted to fight despite the odds. Some hoped negotiation might work. Lisa watched everything from a secure room in the Pentagon. She felt guilty for discovering the signals that brought this terror to Earth. Jake sat next to her and held her hand. We did the right thing, Jake said. Humanity deserves to know the truth. Outside the Pentagon, normal people went about their daily lives. They bought groceries, went to work, and played with their children. They did not know that in 6 days, everything might change forever. The alien signals continued to arrive every hour. Each message was the same: surrender or face destruction. The countdown continued. 5 days left. President Carter made the hardest decision of her life. She would tell the world about the aliens tomorrow. Humanity deserved to know they might be living their last free days. Admiral Davis began preparing Earth's military forces for the impossible. They would fight aliens with technology hundreds of years ahead of human science. It seemed hopeless, but he would not let humanity go down without a battle. Dr. Lisa Grant looked at the stars through the observatory telescope and wondered if humans would ever see them again as free people.